This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
Getting the smile and confidence you've been dreaming about, all from the comfort of your home, isn't a total mystery with Byte clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all your friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Byte clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Hello, welcome. Let's chat. It's hard. You want to talk? I know, that's disappointing. Sit back. Let's work this out. How's it going? What are we doing here? Where are you going? Hey there. Wow. It's not always easy. It's amazing if you think about it. Let's think about this. Strange. I have some thoughts about that. Life is hard. Trauma bonded.
Hey everybody. Sorry this is late. I thought I was going to die last week and T went to New York. So please forgive us. It's coming too late. We have to say congrats to 300 episodes. Congrats to Whit.
Congrats.
300 episodes. I thought maybe we could take a moment to talk about how you and I met Whit.
That's fun. No, let's tell that story.
We were probably 32, or I was.
Yeah, I was in my late 20s, I think.
And we were out on the porch smoking cigs like we used to.
But we were at this party where we didn't know anybody, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know a lot of people, So we were trying to figure out nice ways to, break the ice.
That was that party?
Yeah.
The cilantro and the teeth gag?
Yeah. What was nice about that was that Elly put a giant piece of cilantro in the middle of her teeth in the front. We met people that way.
It's kind of dumb now.
We're little pranksters.
Original and practical jokers.
I know.
Before Whit started this podcast, he and Nate and I tried to start a podcast called People Know Everything. And it was not a same idea at all. It would be, we'd take a big topic, our first and only episode was, Does God Exist? And we would each do This American Life, we'd all have our segment to come back and say what our findings were. We only ever did that one episode. It was just wicked hard. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. But from that, it inspired Whit. I mean, this is what he said. He thinks he says people know everything is what got his mind going about starting a podcast, because it was still a new genre or a new medium then. And Whit just started, this is actually happening. And it was just this quiet little show that he just really went after for years and years and years and just toiled away and never gave up. And it wasn't until season 9 or 10 when the show finally gained some real notoriety and sort of changed his life and made him, and allowed him to make it his full-time job. And he brought me on, I think in 2020, kind of right before COVID hit in March. But he's just a wonderful person, a wonderful friend. He's a joy. He really cares for people. He really tries to live what he believes. And I feel really grateful to know him and work with him, get to work on the show and get to do this show with UT now. I mean, who would have ever guessed this when we all met those 15 years ago or whenever it was.
Yeah.
Congrats to it. We love you. Welcome to Trauma Bonded. I'm Elly Westberg, here with Therese Garcia.
Hello.
And today we're discussing This Is Actually Happening, special episode 300.
300.
300. Unreal.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. What if your boyfriend lit himself on fire? Amanda has heavy past generational trauma, which trickles down to her own immediate family. She experiences myriad family systems, which leave her with insecure attachment. After landing in San Francisco, Amanda meets Bryce, both in their 20s. Of course, they connect as both are deep thinkers and adventurers, but she comes to find out he's mentally unwell and can be reckless and gaslighty. She feels anxious and lonely and decides to leave him. His mental state continues to decline, leading to his suicide by self-immolation. Amanda has become seasoned in meditation and recovery and leads a spiritual life and commits her life to serving others, especially as they enter death. Full disclosure, I'm the showrunner for This Is Actually Happening. I have the privilege to vet stories and conduct pre-interviews before they go to Whit for the final interview, and T knows nothing about anything. She comes in fresh. And this show, Trauma Bonded, is for the listeners, a space where we can talk about each episode, digest it, and reflect on it with empathy and also a bit of levity. That's Trauma Bonded. So, T, did you listen to episode 1 and episode 300 sort of like next to each other?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the evolution of the show. And it's amazing to me listening to them in tandem, how the vision of Whit stayed so true and so much the same. But it's amazing like how much it evolved to really go deep into someone's journey, to acknowledge that how we were raised, to bring in someone's backstory, how that is so integral to understanding their present life.
Yeah.
I think it was just really smart to start developing it more that way so we could understand how they got here.
It helps with empathy.
Yes, I was just thinking that.
And then also, I think a lot of people are like, why?
Why would you do that? And then you hear about their dad or whatever. You're like, oh. Yeah. It was so cool sort of hearing the growth and maturity in Amanda's voice and her life. Like now she sounds like a seasoned middle-aged woman who's like been through some stuff, and she just speaks with more confidence, and she has this benefit of age and maturity and perspective where she can look back and really understand it as it was.
Yeah.
T, what stuck out to you as the heart of Amanda's story?
Yes, I came up with a one-word heart today, and I went with consumed.
Oh, God.
And of course, there's Bryce lighting himself on fire, right? Consumed by fire. He is also consumed by depression, grief, paranoia, right? And then I was thinking about consumed, like when we're learning about her parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and even his family as well, how they're kind of consumed by their own depression and grief. And instead of, ending things with that, they continue to kind of feed the fire. And that it's like a fuse, and it just continues to consume into the next generation.
It's like that. Yeah, it's like that energy sucks everything in with it. Like the way fire sucks in oxygen in a room.
Yeah. This was, to me, a very strong metaphor, at least, as the fire.
Yeah.
And then finally how Amanda is she's extinguishing it. But hopefully she's kind of building her own, kind of sparking, another flame that's more about, building community around death and spirituality. And so I'm hoping that's what continues on as generations go on.
Yeah.
So Consumed was...
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I see that. That's good, T. I also had one word.
Oh.
My word is caretaker. I mean, obviously, Amanda, our storyteller, is one. She's been so all her life in healthy and unhealthy ways. But then I think about her parents and / parents in general. All parents are morally and legally required to take care of their children. But then I thought I expanded it more to this idea that we are all caretakers. When our society has all of these systems that are broken, that cause us harm, it does force someone else to act to take care of the harm that those systems have caused. And and it was predominant in her story, and we see it everywhere: alcoholism, abuse, neglect, depression, anxiety, and these are all brought on by flawed systems. And when they cause a harm, and in the presence of a harm, there must be care. And I would say that because humans, even though we're born already trending toward death and decay naturally, we are very good at aiding further in its devastation and misery. And there will never not be a need for a caretaker. So most of us are caretakers. We are all lined up to take a load. And I know that's scary. A lot of us that are of a certain age are already facing that with our parents. A lot of Gen Xers and millennials are having to deal with taking care of their own parents, especially with systems broken where it is really hard to pay someone to do that. Not, that's a really high level privilege thing to be able to pay a facility to take care of someone. It's sad, but it's coming for us all.
It's a dark way to end it, I feel like.
Well, okay. Sorry. Going back to Amanda. That is why the Amandas of the world are in such dire need. The work that she does is so important. I have such a humble respect for people that do hospice work. My dad was in hospice his last day, and those people, what they do is just so beautiful. And she's right. I mean, everything she's saying is right. Culturally, we do not embrace death. We don't talk about death. Death is always this side thing that we can't face or acknowledge. And it is coming for us all, and that she gets to do that work and be with those people and take care of people in their last moments. And as she puts it, give them a beautiful experience in their passing. That's really lovely, wonderful. We need more people like her. That's positive.
No, that is positive. That's a good one. I'm also thinking about, as you were saying, like taking care of others, but also I think how we take care of ourselves.
Ugh, duh. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, but yeah, like how all the people in Amanda's life took care of themselves, however which way they thought was best, for their mental health.
Right, that's the thing. We all are harmed, we all are hurting, and some of us react to that by trying to take healthy measures to heal ourselves or to care for ourselves. But a lot of us try to take care of ourselves through unhealthy means. Hence, that's why alcoholism is so prevalent. I mean,
Mhm.
we could do myriad episodes about alcoholism. It's such an accepted form of self-destruction in our society, right? So it's not surprising that it shows up in probably 90% of our stories. We don't see it. I mean, people that are able to just drink socially, that is just a social construct for them, a way to like lube up the conversation skills. But people that heavily depend on it and their bodies have become dependent on it, they, believe it or not, that's why it is self-medicating. They are trying to take care of the harm that's been inflicted on them. They don't know it. It's not conscious, but that is what's happening.
It's a way almost to push down the things that they're trying to forget.
Yeah, but it's just adding more problems to the pile.
Yeah, and you think about like her mom being abused and she'd never revealed that, talking about winter and not ever talking about that, thinking that that's a way that if you just ignore it, avoid it, don't talk about it, it'll go away. But it comes up a lot.
We still are living amongst generations that believe that. Like, it's not like these are old. These people still walk among us.
Yes.
We were raised with these ideas.
Oh, yeah.
I
believed that for a long time. Yeah. I was like, oh, you just avoid it and it disappears.
Yeah, just don't talk about it. Push it down. People don't want to hear about that.
We're going to talk about that.
We don't want to say...
That's inappropriate, isn't it?
We don't want to say that about our family.
No.
We don't want people to know our business.
No, that's for us.
Everything's fine.
Well, let's also not talk about it within ourselves.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about it in the family either. Yeah.
Just don't talk about it.
Some things are too hard to say. And it's wild to think it. Like, just open your mouth and say it. But if you've ever carried around a secret, you know that sometimes things are just too hard to say. And we've had so many generations live and die by that credo. And I think now, thank God, it's probably been more prevalent in the generation even in beyond us, after us. But it's spilled over to all of us that are paying attention and really want to try to evolve and change and grow as much as we can and heal as much as we can. Like, but these ideas to talk about everything so much and be so out in the open with things so much and try to attempt to break these cycles of generational trauma. These are all relatively new ideas. So there's hope.
I think there's some hope out there.
Okay, let's talk about this. Quote, the desire to be seen, but the inability to be intimate.
Yes.
End quote. What does that mean?
Yeah, I also wrote that down.
Any thoughts?
So it's hard to be vulnerable, right? You're putting yourself out there. It's weird because you want to be seen, you want people to understand you, right? Understand where you come from. Like with these podcasts, with these episodes, like that's why you add in this backstory. You want people to understand why you made certain decisions later in life or why these things happen or their patterns in your life. So you want people to understand you, but you don't necessarily want to share all the things that may have been hurtful to you in the beginning of your life. For example, her mom, so late in life, revealed about being sexually abused as a child.
Yeah.
But this whole time, she's just not going to like hide out forever. She wants to build connections. She wants to be seen, but she doesn't want to reveal those things. It's a weird balance. It's almost like if you don't reveal those things, you won't be able to be understood as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I look at it like a connection. Like we want to be, feel like we're interconnected as like a human. We're part of this vast network. And you can that is being seen or seeing others, or being in these traditional nuclear families. You know, most people enter these without thinking much about them, but it is just a way that we get to connect our humanity to other humans. But to do the work of true intimacy, to have true intimacy, that's really difficult work. That's really being open, really being vulnerable. And probably most people aren't willing to do that kind of work.
Yeah.
Like surface human level connection is enough. It gets them through. It makes them feel a part, makes them feel connected, makes them feel seen. But to really truly be in the depths with someone, that's tough. That's hard. And for it to be really meaningful, it has to be reciprocal. So as much as you give, you take. And that can be too much for people.
Yeah.
Human relationships are really fucking hard. Can't believe we do them.
I know. There's almost like a selfishness to it. I want to be seen, but I'm not going to share any parts of me so that we actually connect. You have to just understand me or allow me to act the way I act.
Trust me, I'm a human.
And I'm kind of going to be an asshole to you, let's say. And you're going to take it because, and you don't understand why, but you're going to take it because I'm your mom. Yeah. And you're going to do it. So. Yeah.
Let's talk about, like a first major turning point, I think, for Amanda was Liz, the stepmom. Seems like she came in and saved them all. And it feels like she could play a role like in a Hallmark Christmas movie, like extra gracious, even mothering the mother, fill this gap in the family system. This central figure for Amanda probably helped save her attachment issues in a lot of ways. Maybe could have been a lot worse if Liz hadn't come in and shown her what being a good mom, a solid mom was like.
Yeah, totally. I think it would have been awful to not have Liz in their life. It sounds like with her sisters, like just choosing to live over there too. Like, this is my way of keeping myself healthy. And then thinking about how when her mom remarried.
Quit remarrying assholes that are white-knuckling sobriety.
Oh, I know.
And have rage issues.
Well, quit remarrying just to remarry.
Right. Quit remarrying just to not be alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quit, like love yourself.
Yeah.
Do we say this every episode?
It's like they don't get it.
So this insecure attachment is shown in her relationship. She's always drawn to the guy who's not really sure that they like her, which I felt seen in this whole bit. She's always drawn to the project. And another big turning point in her life was just to meet a person at a funeral? I don't remember exactly. Or was it a wedding? No, I think it was a funeral where she met a boyfriend's aunt that offered her a job at Stanford, and now she just gets to live in San Francisco for her 20s.
And then she can just like party.
Guys, people say like, this is my year of yes. I'm saying yes to everything. I think we should all set boundaries for ourselves. But you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to run into, what kind of relationship you will make that will spawn other opportunities that you never could have ever conceived of or found in a conventional way. I think we need to stop saying that everything is merit-based. Everything is merit-based in this job and economy. Like, so many jobs are based on who you know, and I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but just say yes. Be a personality hire. That's a real thing, you guys.
I think I'm a personality hire.
I also, believe it or not, I know I'm the asshole.
The listeners
knows,
are nodding right now.
that knows everything and has done everything. But
Like, oh yeah, now it makes sense. Your personality.
so many
hires.
jobs I get to, and I'm like, okay, so no, what do I do here?
What's that? How
And
do
then-
I do
and then
that?
and I kind of like black out when someone shows me, and then I just I keep asking them next time. I'm like, hey, and I'm like, hey, you want to go get coffee? And they're like, yeah, Elly's awesome.
No, that's when I'm
Um,
like, hey, just so everyone knows. I know. But just so everyone knows, could you tell us how to do that?
Yeah,
You explain it well. I know how. 100%.
but just be open. Like, I know that we hate to acknowledge it, but so many things are based on who you know, what you're like to be around. People can learn anything, but to have someone be charming and interesting and funny and kind, like, these are qualities that I cannot
Huge.
underestimate. Like, make relationships, build relationships, make friends. You never know where these kind of things will lead you. And it led Amanda to frickin' Stanford, frickin' the best place in the country,
Uh-huh.
Bay Area, California. And she got to spend her time partying her balls off in San Francisco in her 20s. T and I got to party our balls off in Oakland in our 30s. I don't know what you were doing in your 20s, T.
I was doing that too.
Yeah, and it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Let's switch gears a little bit.
I did like, I was writing this down. This is like you were giving some career advice. I like that.
Thank you.
That was good.
Things I've learned being a fuck up with a college degree that's non-usable and is in freelance, so I get bounced around a lot. I've found these things out the hard. You guys just heard it. I just told you flat out. Whit and I were friends. That's how I got the job on This Is Actually Happening.
That's what I'm saying. That's why the listeners are nodding right now. Like,
Yeah,
that's
they're
why
like,
she got
who
it.
gave this bitch a job?
It's like, oh, T's friends with Elly and Whit. That's how she got
it's
this.
all who you know.
It's not about
it's not
their
fully married.
knowledge or
Sorry.
intellect or
Or know-how.
education.
Or education or training or skills. I don't know how to use Google Slides. T, remember that
It's not,
time
like,
you tried to help me
hard.
edit a PDF file?
Oh,
Tell them how I can't do it.
You're awful at that.
See?
Oh my God. The way you use Excel is like the most frustrating thing I've ever seen.
What do you mean use Excel? That's not happening. When does that happen?
Or was it Google Sheets?
Yeah, I won Excel.
They were just numbers and boxes that you added yourself. It was like 274 plus, 126. And then you didn't like add them through a formula. You're just like underneath you use the calculator and then you got 400. And I was like, what the fuck is this? They're like, this is how much this person owed. Like, it was so manual. So anyway, if that's a good example of how Elly doesn't know how to do stuff.
Anyways, let's talk about Vipassana.
You have Vipassana?
What's interesting about this Vipassana meditation is she sort of discovers this through Bryce attending it, is that if you are mentally ill or suicidal, it can be a really negative experience for you. And this definitely reminded me of the episode that we did with Ayahuasca husband.
Same.
Who knew that ayahuasca just wasn't this carte blanche fix it for everyone, that a narcissist that would do it could really screw up their brains insides. But it sounds like with this Vipassana, if you are mentally ill or haven't done the deep work before you get to a meditation retreat like that, it can really fuck you up. I just want to read a little bit for people that don't know what Vipassana is. It means to see things as they really are, and it's one of India's most ancient techniques of meditation. It was taught in India more than 2,500 years ago as a universal remedy for universal ills, i.e. an art of living. So people take courses or they sit in Vipassana meditation retreats for days, and it can get really deep into to some dark shit. So if you're not uncovering it, or you're unhealed, or you're in the throes of psychosis, or you're unwell and need therapy, like, this is not something for you. So for him to throw himself into something like this was definitely not a good idea.
Yeah.
I thought that was really revealing, and I feel like this is really good information to know. I feel like I learned something in this segment.
Yeah, now I'm definitely not doing it.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that.
And the same with ayahuasca.
Let's talk about, let's shift it a little bit. Bryce blames her for selling the house. Now, let's do the mental gymnastics that Bryce did to be able to blame her. Okay? Let's try it. We're trying to get in there.
Yeah.
We're not speaking ill of the dead. I want to understand.
She was just saying she kind of just helped out a little bit here and there.
Yeah, and then he says that he's ready to sell it, and from what she says, it's like she's like, okay. So she helps him get it ready to sell. It doesn't sound like she's actively telling him it's a bad idea. She doesn't really say, but it sounds like she was kind of a neutral party.
But she wasn't a heavy influence in the decision making.
Right.
I mean, I think she put like a plant there or whatever,
Yeah,
that's how I pictured it.
His decision.
Yeah.
In their argument, how does he say it's her? How does he get to the conclusion that it's her fault? Is this stupid to even probe because he wasn't in his right mind? But he must have had some sort of argument, because she does take on board what he's saying to her.
Well, that's, I think, part of her issues too, is that people-pleasing part, and really like accepting possibly what he was blaming her for. I mean, it also brought me back to her great-grandfather's suicide, and then that her grandfather left their family. Like, those two blamed their... There's a lot of blaming. There was like, it wasn't them. It's not because of me that I'm leaving the family or committing suicide. It's actually because of you.
Yeah.
I think.
Is there a mental illness name for that?
Blaming.
Is that just like, general mentally ill?
Is it projecting maybe? I don't know. I'm not a
shrink.
Yeah, I'm not a shrink, so I don't know. But maybe it's connected to that, when we were talking about earlier, desire to be seen, inability to be intimate. Can't be vulnerable enough to be like, I made a mistake. You know?
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. He was probably saying, why didn't you stop me?
Yeah.
Why could you let me do this? Why would you let me go through with this?
You know, especially that this isn't, good enough yet or whatever.
Right, which he sort of talking to himself. But keep in mind now, she's kind of become a bit of a savior for him at this point. Like, she's always stepping in with, you should go to the do the yoga, da-da-da-da-da. She's always like a solution queen to him. So the fact that she hasn't stepped in and stopped him and saved him from himself and making this bad financial decision, it's her lack of stopping him that makes it her fault.
Interesting. Yeah, you've saved me from so many things. Why didn't you save me from this?
Yeah.
This was a huge mistake.
Oof. Or what about when, he looks at her like she's funky for bringing up the winter business park, and then gives her this verbal lashing for bringing it up.
It's so... She brings up, the point. It's a huge thing. They're calling it Winter Business Park.
Right. It's named after him.
Is it named after the baby, or is it named after the season? It's named after the baby.
This is again right.
She knows
what you're
it's
saying.
Out.
This is wanting to be seen, but not wanting to be intimate.
Yeah.
This is the same exact.
Talk about, seen. It's a huge business park. It's called Winter, but we're not going to talk about why.
And now that while we're talking about this, I think that story was so fucking sad, and it sounds like his body and person and mind was also involved in that accident, and it sounds like I guarantee you he probably suffered his own PTSD from that accident. And it's possible even that he had some sort of traumatic brain injury if he was thrown from a moving vehicle. To witness that, to see a newborn baby being destroyed in that way, to see your mother beside herself in grief in that way, and then to be injured yourself, and then to never talk about it. You can't tell me that this wasn't a major defining moment of his life and didn't directly contribute somehow to his depression and suicidal ideation all through his adolescence into high school and beyond. It has to be.
1,000% it did. He's learning not to talk about it when there's pain and trauma.
Yeah.
You saw the Google searches. You saw, all the things that she found after the fact. He was hiding the fact that he was thinking about this. He wasn't sharing it with anybody, his family
And he
or
probably
her.
he'd felt that for decades.
That's a learned thing. Even though it doesn't work, that's what we do. And it's like that, to be, wanting to be seen and not intimate. That huge business park is honoring Winter, right?
Yeah.
It's honoring the baby, but then it's not
Don't talk about it.
acknowledging the incident itself or the effects that came up after the fact.
Absolutely. Oof.
Well said, Amanda.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
Okay. So Amanda's getting to this point where she can see the difference. And I thought this was also brilliant what she said. She can see the difference between being a lone, empowered Amanda and lonely child, abandoned Amanda. These are two different types of alone. Alone and lonely are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Sees the difference. She's feeling anxious. She's not feeling supported or cared for in this relationship. And this is another big turning point for her. And again, this is another time that our friends are so important. When they say, Amanda, it's time to get off this train.
Mm-hmm.
Just hug your friends that tell you the truth, y'all. And that was a big turning point for her, because she knew that she, as she says, she can't be his lifeline anymore. And she did it because she loved him. She goes through all of this on and learns about these recovery things. And she says she has to take contrary actions to stop the insanity. She really is a person that does the work, man. Like, I feel like you just hand her a self-help book and she sees some truth in it. She's gonna
pull it out and then tell the world. Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard to love yourself and to love someone else and not be with them, because your immediate want is to take him back. It's hard to say no to that. Most people aren't able to do that. Shout out to you, Amanda.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard.
I love that too. Contrary actions.
Yeah. People always say insanity is when you do the same thing over and over and over again, the same way, expecting different results. So that is exactly what that is. Contrary action.
Do the opposite.
It is stopping the insanity.
Yeah.
But it hurts. It's hard.
Yeah.
Let's talk about his suicide in Palo Alto, January 25th, 2007. I did look up an article in the Mercury News. Research alert. I feel like in the original episode 1, she talks about how the fire spread, or didn't it sound like, I took away that it was sort of it became like a neighborhoody fire. Did you get that? Or maybe I misheard that.
I don't recall now. I'm mixing them up a little.
It made it sound like it spread to other houses. So I wanted to see the news of the day just to see exactly what happened. It says a man died. This is from the Mercury News, dated July 26, 2007. A man died Thursday in what appears to have been a suicide after a shed caught fire in Palo Alto. A note was found in the group home near the wooden shed where the fire occurred, leading police to believe the fire was set intentionally. Firefighters responded to the call of the burning shed at and the fire was under control within 4 minutes. The man in the shed had not been identified, but he was a resident of the facility that treats people with mental illnesses. The CEO of that company said the home was briefly evacuated, but the residents were able to go back later that night. So no one else was hurt. No one else was displaced. If anyone else was confused by what was said in the first episode, which apparently I was, but it only did take his life. Self-immolation.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that term before.
Oof.
You know, when you talk about, how you might die.
Yeah.
An easy way you might go for, this is definitely when you feel like you'd be suffering in a lot of pain the entire time until you eventually die. It's almost like a torturous way of going. It's like punishing yourself.
Yeah.
There are other ways to do it that may have been easier.
But he wasn't in his right mind.
No, he wasn't in his right mind, but when you think about doing something like that, a lot of times maybe you don't want to feel the pain of it.
Or you want to feel as much pain as you can. If you feel it physically, you're not feeling it mentally anymore. It's like maybe it's like extreme akin to cutting or something. Or people that have excessive tattoos because they want to feel the pain physically more than emotionally. And usually in self-immolation, not that I know much about it, it feels like protesty. Like it's a symbol.
Yeah.
It's so dramatic. It's so extreme. It's so visual, even though he did it in a shed. So it wasn't like he did it in the middle of a street.
What about, she mentioned this in both the first one and the 300th one. She mentions calling him and thinking it was probably while he was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I thought including that was important to her. Any insight there?
Do you think she's somehow saying that her phone call sparked it? Not to use the fire.
Right. No, but it's good. But I don't.
It was inspired because of her phone call.
I don't know.
That he heard it and was so.
Well, or that if she was like 2 minutes earlier, she could have stopped it.
She could have stopped it. She couldn't though.
Well, yeah. But it seemed important for some reason that she mentioned that. And I just wanted to know what the significance was to her for saying it. Because it's a little bit of a detail.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I really respect people that work in hospice and have a relationship with death and can share that with other people. And I really think it's fascinating that at the end of the life, at the end of life, she finds out it's really revealed to her that early childhood is so important and people want to tell you about what they didn't get. And that trauma we carry around with expresses itself later in disease, dementia, heartache. To have an 80-year-old woman admit to sexual abuse as a child, to know that she's carried that around with her for so long. It's so heartbreaking.
It's a powerful role to play and to have these stories come just to you at times.
Yeah.
I wonder how you might hold those and have those stories within yourself, by yourself.
It goes to show how revealing, how real, how it's the absolute realest moment in your life is when you're facing down death. And all of a sudden, everything probably becomes very clear. And when you look back on your life, you're probably doing a stock take and you can't help but look at the thing that you feel like informed you the most. You know, I have in my mind things that I'll probably think about on my deathbed that have informed my life the most and have always been with me and I can never get rid of. And I think it's just so sad that we carry these inner secrets and demons and heartaches around with us and never talk about them. But what Amanda's doing, sorry, I keep going dark. What Amanda's doing is amazing. And she talks about how she talks about death and dying with her 9-year-old kid a lot. I wanted to ask you what you thought about that.
Yeah, it got me thinking. And our kids are still 6, 4, and 4, but I don't know what that would look like or be like. I remember when I was a kid, and if I think about like my own mom dying, it would take me on the worst. Yeah, it's the worst thing I could ever think of, the worst fear I had.
Crying yourself to sleep, yeah. I used to do the same.
I'll tell you when they're 9.
Okay.
How that works out. Because there's nothing like that. We're nothing close to that yet. We didn't even tell them, like, one of the fish died. We just got another one.
Oh. Well, death is part of life.
It is. We got to figure out also what we think about what happens after death. We don't have a strong point of view yet.
I don't think that that's important.
Okay, so you have a strong point of view. That's,
Who gives a fuck?
And that's, yeah, I mean, we've gone through the whole gamut of what, if it doesn't matter and how much it matters, and all the way to like, and we don't want to hit religion.
It's just natural law. Religion has nothing to do with it. Your body just ends.
No, yeah, we can go to science.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't revealed any of that quite yet, but we know we will have to.
And I really wanted to know more about her marriage. I assume it's doing well, but I felt like that was kind of a cliffhanger at the end of the episode 1. I really wanted her to talk more about how it's going with Wolf. Okay, thank you for listening. This has been an episode of Trauma Bonded. You can find our show, our podcast recap. If you like us, please rate and review us on Apple or other places, or reach out on Instagram. Thanks to Amanda for sharing their story on the special 300th episode. And it's the first time we've re-interviewed a storyteller. Thank you, Amanda, for giving us the opportunity to talk about it. Thanks to the This Is Actually Happening team, including Whit, Missildine, and Andrew Waits, and the maker of our music and website, Nathaniel Francesco Tromboli. Thanks to Cathy Sites, you badass bitch, you, for editing this episode, and to Katie Capel, my lovely sister, for building those blasted Instagram posts. You can contact us at traumabondedpod@gmail.com and find us at Instagram, at Trauma Bonded Pod Official, or visit our website at traumabondedpod.com. And you guys, sorry, we promised another storyteller follow-up this December. Sorry, we dropped the ball for November. November went so fast,
Did
right?
it go fast?
Where did
It's
November
so
go? It went
fast.
so fast. And we will do another bonus comments episode in December as well. I've got December off, y'all, so you're going to be getting content. Time keeps on ticking, but the content you shall have. We are trauma bonded to the story, to the storyteller, to the listeners, and to each other. Thank you for spending time with us today. Sorry we were late. We love you much. Love you, T.
Love you, Elly.